What's going on, y'all? I decided I'd start a little YouTube channel here and maybe post some videos that y'all might be interested in or might help somebody out. We run about an 800-acre wholesale tree nursery, and we run about 150 head of Angus and Charolais in a small cow-calf operation. So we're here at the old shop today. My granddad built that shop probably close to 50 years ago, and that's the truck he started out with. It's a 68 white Freightliner, and we'll do a tour of that thing at some point. It's awesome. Fully restored, interior, exterior, runs like a top. So that's our potting machine there for pot and pot. If you guys are interested in seeing how that works or a video on that, just leave a down in the comments and we'll do a video on that. But today I figured we could do a little service truck tour. This is kind of set up, for me, but it's kind of set up with stuff I use pretty much on a daily basis, that you run into a lot with big tractors, small tractors, skid steers, excavators, dozers, stuff like that. And we got 4 of these 7.3s, so do a lot of work on them also. You guys know they're constantly needing something. This one, actually, I wish I would have done a video before, because that was my old service truck. It doesn't have anything on it now, but it used to have a job box there, an air compressor in front of it, and a toolbox with 5 drawers. I welded right here. I had my welder bolted down here. The other side I had another box that went the length of there for storage, and I had a vise mounted in right here. But we just picked this truck up, got a really good deal on it, so I'm still kind of in the process of moving everything over to it, but I'll give you guys a quick walk through my truck and kind of what I use the most on these kind of jobs. Pull that out real quick. So this is just a V10, which, I know a lot of people are crazy about the 7.3s, but man, it doesn't seem to matter if it's 100 degrees or negative 50 degrees. This thing fires right up, and that 7.3, most of ours have to be plugged in when it gets down about 50 degrees. And they have seen a really rough life, granted, but this truck fires right up every time, runs like a top. So inside here, I just got this little cheap thing for storage. Kind of a plain Jane work truck, nothing really interesting going on in here. My lunchbox and some hand wipes. I got my EDL, that's the version 2. That does plenty for me. We don't have anything brand new, and if I'm not mistaken, that will still do newer stuff anyways. Got my laptop over there for Service Advisor and other diagnostics. I plan to do an in-depth video because I can't find anything on YouTube of not even just a tutorial, but a video so people can see before you invest in, because these are not cheap, before you buy an EDL and Service Advisor and all of that and a laptop, just so you can actually see what you can do and if it will help you out and be a worthwhile investment for you. If you own a lot of John Deere equipment that's out of warranty, it's definitely a good investment. But I will do a video at some point on that, just to kind of walk everybody that's not familiar with it through the diagnostics and the repair manuals and everything you can do with it. This is from Autel. I use it with my phone mostly, or that iPad up there, but this thing is awesome for even these 7.3s. I think it's the AP200, I think is what it's called, and it's Bluetooth. It just plugs right into your OBD2 port, and I was pretty surprised with everything you can do with this. I thought it was just going to read codes, but if you guys want me to do a video and a review on that, leave a comment and I'll get around to that, because this thing was like 30 bucks. I mean, super cheap way to figure out what's going on with most of your mid-duty trucks and even down to smaller cars and stuff. The only thing is you do have to pay, I think it's 20 bucks per like Ford, GM, whatever you're going to be working on. But if you're just using it for a couple of, like us, we've got GM and Ford, and that's basically it on lighter duty stuff. So the first box here got a few magnets on the walls. These things right here are from Lang, these hose spoons. They got striking caps on them. I can't recommend those enough, honestly. They are, this one especially, taking you know, radiator hoses and stuff like that off of tractors and air lines off of trucks. Those things are just awesome. Got a couple Easy Red magnetic parts cups. You know, you guys are all familiar with those. This magnet right here is super surprising. It's VIM or VIM, whatever it is. Those guys make some awesome stuff. If you're like me and you don't have a tool truck that comes to you, you know, check those guys out because they make some great tools, man. I plan to start buying more from them as I need. Currently, I've kind of got everything I need, really, but they make some great stuff. Up top here, we got my Mac 1/2-inch impact. Can't live without that. Right beside that, we've got the 3/8. Really can't live without that. And then back there is just some batteries, and these are some step bits and regular drill bits. Those are Norse or Norseman. What are they? Norseman. They make really, really nice bits, actually. I can get that off with one hand. Let's see. They do make some really good bits. These have been used pretty heavily, but they make some pretty nice stuff. You know, for the money, I think this set was somewhere like 60 bucks maybe. So pretty good deal on that. Back there I've got just a DeWalt drill, a DeWalt impact driver, a DeWalt heat gun, and a battery charger. These are from CTA, filter wrench set. I haven't had any trouble out of them. You know, I don't have a tool truck and I don't see the reason to pay Snap-on prices for filter wrenches. These I can 100% justify paying tool truck prices for. These are absolutely awesome. These are the, I think they call them Hyperstep bits from Matco. And whatever bit size you're using, like a 1/2-inch drill bit, is stepped down to a 1/2-inch, as you guys can see there. These are not cheap, but they are well worth it. What you spend in money with these, you will make up for in time on your very first job. First day I had them, I had to drill like 16 holes in 3/8 steel, and I was amazed how quickly I was done. So worth every penny. I'll do a in-depth review and show those in action here pretty soon. I'm just getting started, and it's kind of hard to film a lot with everything we got going on, but when I get, you know, a minute to do these videos, I'll definitely do them. So got my 3/4 drive Tecton ratchet. No complaints with that thing. That's been a solid ratchet. Actually, I do have a complaint. The handle could be a little longer. It's pretty short for a 3/4 drive, but, you know, I carry a cheater bar, so it is what it is. The top drawer here, I've got all my ratchets and extensions and wobbles. Got the Mac Axis flex head, the long 1/2-inch drive. These are my favorite ratchets I've ever used. One thing I would recommend is buy the flex head, not the locking flex head. I broke the locking mechanism in 3 of them, and I mean, I was torquing on them, but you know, they should have held up better. And after the 3rd one, I just said to hell with it and quit buying those. These are probably my favorite ratchets I've ever used. They're Proto. Here's your part number. And if you guys do a lot of heavy equipment and tractors and stuff like I do, you're always covered in hydraulic oil and grease and stuff. I love the knurled handles there. If they made these Axis ratchets with a knurled handle instead of the comfort grip, I would have them instead. That is the main reason I love those. This is a little 1/4 drive Matco. That's a pretty sweet ratchet. Got a pretty slim head on it, so pretty handy. There's a Mac 1/2-inch breaker bar. There's that same Proto ratchet in 1/2-inch drive. And there's the part number on that. Mac Axis 3/8 drive. This is from Astro, and I think they call it a nano ratchet. It's a 1/4-inch head with a 3/8 anvil. And you guys can see there it is next to that Matco. It's pretty small, so that's really handy. There's a little tiny Proto 1/4 drive, Mac Axis 1/4 drive, and all my adapters, There's some more back there. I really like these gear wrench adapters. I haven't had any trouble out of them. The locking ones are really nice. You know, a lot of times you'll get somewhere where you've got to get the socket and the extension on something and then kind of maneuver the ratchet in there, and it's kind of a tight fit, so that keeps the socket from falling off and keeps you from slinging shit across the shop. I love this little gear wrench 3/8 for taking off starters and stuff like that, especially on the early 2000 Chevrolets. Super handy. The next drawer is mostly Mac and a few Matco nut drivers and the locking nut drivers. These are really pretty handy when you're trying to get in a tight spot. You just get that on there and lock it down and it'll stay on there. I don't see a part number on that. Oh, there it is. If you guys are interested in those. Got some little tiny gear wrench and Mac hooks and picks. Got some bigger straight picks and all the different type of picks from Mac. I like their handles the best, is the main reason I have those. Screwdrivers, Phillips, flathead, Torx, those are all Mac. Little trim panel. This thing comes in super handy for almost everything. Use it as a mini pry bar, popping loose air lines, you know, getting fittings to separate, wire connectors, everything like that. Got some tiny Mac files and some bigger ones, flat, half round, all that good stuff. This little guy right here, lost a bit from it. I just got that at Lowe's. Ideal, never heard of it, but that thing, when you need it and nothing else will work. So it's in there and the bits are somewhere. Got some gasket scrapers, different sizes from Mac. So that's that drawer that never wants to close. Below that we got pliers, some Mac hose pinch offs, gear wrench pinch offs, some cheap auto parts store pinch offs. These are super handy for servicing hydraulics on especially Bobcats. They got that one filter behind the cab that is a super pain to get to, and they're just some ratcheting hose pliers, so recommend those for sure. Most of my pliers are Knipex, you know, lineman pliers, Cobra, more Cobra, needle nose, long dikes. I don't even own a pair of short ones because those are just better. I think they call these the Raptor pliers. They're pretty handy. The twin grips, gotta have these. Those are probably my favorite pliers I own. And then down there is a set of the wrench pliers, which are really nice, but they definitely do not replace an adjustable wrench. I can say that for sure. They're handy, but when something's really, really tight, you know, just put the right size wrench on it. Some filter pliers. These are from Tool Aid. They're pretty cheap. I think you can get them on Amazon, but they're super handy when you got just a tiny little wire hanging out of a corner and you can't get a pair of strippers into it. You just get those in there and they're stripped. Got my Weather Pack pliers there from Astro. Some closed barrel Deutsch pliers. Tin snips. Love these. These are Blackhawk. They're made by Proto. But they're just automatic wire strippers. More Deutsch stuff. Trim panel pliers. Some big snap ring pliers from Napa, which absolutely suck. They're trash. Some long hose pullers and stuff from Mac. Milwaukee makes some awesome hand tools too. We got their vice grips and a pair of their channel locks here, and those are awesome. And then these are all Knipex, the 8-piece set or something of snap ring pliers, and they're super handy. I can't stand the little interchangeable snap ring pliers that come with 50 different heads and you lose them and they fall off, and as soon as you go to put pressure on something they fall off. They aggravate me to death. So those are worth the investment. Below that is, these are Icon because I don't use them a lot. Just some obstruction wrenches, some flare wrenches. There's some Mac, some SK. I think that's Bonnie, Mac, all kinds of different, Pittsburgh, Mac, just an assortment. These are just some cheap offset wrenches. They come in real handy. And then all kinds of crow's feet, you know, regular crow's feet up to 1 inch and I think 21 millimeter. Those are gear wrench. Flare nut crow's feet in the same sizes. And then these are the gear wrench ratcheting crow's feet. They've got that little pin that moves in and out, if you guys can see that. I plan to do a review on these too because I really like them. And I haven't found anything on YouTube about them, any videos or anything, but they're really handy. So I'll do a video maybe next week on that. Below that, oh, if I can get it open, I'm gonna set you guys down for a second. This box is in here kind of wonky. Below that is combination wrenches and ratcheting wrenches up to 1 inch and 22 millimeter. I've got a regular and a ratcheting for each one. These are my favorite wrenches on the market. I think they're called Max Bite or something. They're made by Milwaukee. So the standard set goes up to 1 inch and the metric up to I think 21 or 22. And they're like $1.40 for the set, which is, you know, way cheaper than Mac or Snap-on or anybody. And they're basically the same design. They've got the, you know, cutout for the bolt and the teeth in there. Excuse me. No flex to them. They're super solid and they're comfortable. So for the money, I would recommend these all day long. That is my favorite wrench. And then over to the side here, got some hammers. The Mac Anti-Vibes. That's just the best ball peen ever made. No questions about it. It just is. I think Proto offers the exact same thing though, and you can get it off Amazon. I mean, they're made in the same factory with the same parts and everything, so I would probably go with the Proto. Behind that, got some big, long gear wrench cabinet screwdrivers. Those things come in super handy when you need them. Some big punches with striking caps from Lang. Lang makes really great stuff, guys, and a lot of things you buy on tool trucks, Snap-on, Matco, Mac, everybody, a lot of it is Lang or Lyle. They make a lot of tools for pretty much everyone. We've got just a dead blow, and this sledgehammer here came from Northern Tool. It's a Graz, and it says it's indestructible. I've put it through hell. It's been a great hammer. It's got a good handle on it. It doesn't, you know, it soaks up most of the shock when you really hit something hard. Great hammer. Then I've got a little rubber mallet and a big one, and a claw hammer in there because we do have a bunch of barns, and you know they're all old and falling apart, so we're always doing some kind of repair on a building or a shed or a barn. So I do have to keep a claw hammer in there, although that is my least favorite tool because I hate carpentry. Down below here in this, I've got some more DeWalt batteries and chargers, some big punches from Mac, a pipe wrench, slack adjuster tool. I think that's Lang also, yep. A bolt gauge back here. These are super handy, keep you from running all over the place trying to get it right. Just measure it, you know, what bolt you need and get it right the first time. There's a seal puller in there. Just a cheap auto parts store one. Some brass punches. These are my favorite punches and chisels. As you can tell, because that one's broke. Let's get one that's not broke. They've got a good handle on them, and then you can strike the back here. I have broke 2 of them, but I was absolutely beating the heck out of them, so. And the part number on these is probably covered in rust. Yeah, there it is. I don't know if they still make those or not, but those are my favorite punches and chisels. And then in the back, metric and standard hex keys. I think these are Tekton. Tekton makes some great stuff. They really do. But one thing when you go to buy Allen keys, always make sure you get the ball end. That way, if you have to get into something at an angle, you know, you can always, pretty much any angle you can get to with the ball end. These are, I think they call them service wrenches. They're super handy for hydraulics. They just little short wrenches like that. You can get into tight places. I think these are made by V8. I actually bought these from Tech's Choice over the phone. And they've been great. I've used them a lot. I think that goes up to 1.5 inches. And then down here, there's some, I think these are Capri long double end wrenches. Big wrenches up to 2-inch and up to maybe 40 millimeters. Got some big line wrenches down here, 1.5 inches. There's a couple more. There's a snap-on one somewhere. There it is. That is one of 2 snap-on tools that I own. And it is 1.25 inch line wrench. These are angle wrenches up to 1 inch. These are angle wrenches from 1 inch to 2 inch. Highly recommend both of those. I don't even know what brand they are. I think they're V8 also, but these ones are the, get them out here. I think they're V8. Sorry, I'm going to do this with one hand. Just long, double end, double angled wrenches. And those are just a smaller version. Highly recommend those. This cabinet is mostly my little creeper pad, because most of the time you are in the mud and dirt and stuff like that. So just throw that down and put your parts in it and keep from getting soaked. Shop rags, drop cords, consumables, gear oil, all that stuff. A little torch, some hand wipes, and then I keep most of my air tools in this bucket because they don't really get used. Got an air hammer, a needle scaler, a couple of little die grinders, but with all the battery stuff now, most of that really doesn't get used. I don't have any drawers in my service truck, so this is what I decided to do with my sockets, and it has worked out really well for me. Back here we got some 3/8 drive deep swivel sockets, chrome. It's 1/4 inch metric and standard, 3/8 metric and standard, 1/2 inch drive impacts all through there. In the back there's some 1/2 inch drive impacts and some 3/8 Milwaukee Shockwave impacts. Those are great sockets. Everything pretty much in here is 6-point. Then I've got some adapters, spare adapters, some more 1/2 inch stuff jumbled in there, and that's mostly 3/4 and 1 inch drive stuff. Some bigger sockets. Over here is the Capri ultra shallow, or I don't know what they call them. They're 3/8 drive, or yeah, 3/8 drive, and they're super shallow. Those come in really handy in tight places. And even like that's a 1 inch socket, and it's just tiny. And then over here, some Lyle triple square gear. I bought this set of gear wrench that was like every bit or something was what it was called. It has all your Torx, Allen, E-Torx, long. Got some impact Allens. These right here, I'll do a video on. I got 1/4 and 3/8 here, and the 1/2 inch are in the box on the other side. These are called the bolt biters from Gear Wrench, and you can use them to tighten or loosen. So if you have a messed up fastener that you took out and you can't replace it, you know, you can't find another one, you can always put it back on in a pinch with these. But I haven't had anything that these won't work on. I don't know what it says about hammering them on, but I hammer them on all the time. I actually had a broke landing gear on a reefer trailer the other day, and I got my 1/2 inch impact and a 1/2 inch bolt biter. Was able to hammer it on where the handle was, and it dropped that trailer like nobody's business. So that was awesome. These are some SK 1/2 inch swivel sockets. They're super handy. There's some little 3/8 Torx socket impacts. Back here is some Blackhawk. I think these are E-Torx. Yeah, up to E18. And then my bigger E-Torques are somewhere in here. I've got the full set. But kind of have to dig every now and then for something. But this was the best way I could set it up, where I could see everything and get to everything. Back in there's some Sunex driveline sockets, which I highly recommend, especially on Fords. I had a transmission go out in one of these 7.3s, and I had to drop the driveline so that I could tow it on the side of the road, and those made it super simple. This is my welding box. Got some magnets, some anti-spatter, gloves, grinding shield. Here's my hood. That is a Pipeliner's Cloud, one of the carbon fiber ones. They're at pipelinerscloud.com. If you do a lot of welding and you're in the market for a new hood, check them out, man. I think they make pancakes too. I prefer the Sugar Scoop. That's the best helmet I've ever used. Super light, super comfortable. You can wear it all day. Flap disc, grinding wheels, face mask with respirator, I mean. Down here I've got the Flex Volt grinder, which is a bad son of a gun, and a die grinder, a little tiny flux core piece of junk welder, welding rods and all that down there. Then this is more grinding wheels, chip and hammer, wire brush, that kind of stuff. Fire extinguisher, gotta have that. This is one of the only Harbor Freight tools I own, and I have been super surprised with it. Really, I'm really pleased with this welder. It does a great job. I've done everything from framework on big trailers with it down to little tiny thin galvanized irrigation hydrants, and it works really, really well. So I'm going to do an in-depth video on this and show some welding and how it handles it, because I haven't been able to find many videos of this on YouTube either. I tried to research a lot before I bought it, but there wasn't really much out there, so I'll do a video of that as well. The only complaints I have about it are the amperage dial. It's junk and it's pretty inaccurate, and the leads that come with it, they're junk as well. And a cooler here, because you got to have that. In the bed, I've just got oxygen and acetylene run to that hose, some diesel fuel, that's some motor oil, funnels and stuff, my air compressor, and a ladder. Then around this side, this is my most hated cabinet. As I said, we have a bunch of barns and stuff, so we do have to do some carpentry. Just got a circular saw, oscillating tool, reciprocating saw, some hole saws. And then I keep this vacuum in here because I've replaced about 4 tractor doors and about 3 skid steer windshields, so that makes it a breeze to just get all the glass out of your way. Down here is a torque multiplier, must have hammer drill. That is a iron ton bandsaw from Northern Tool, which I will also do a review on, because it's another one that surprised me. It was like 170 bucks. Thought it was going to be a piece of junk, and it turned out to be great. Behind that, there's a Matco tap and die master set. This one is kind of my catch-all. I've got my electrical box. I've got wire nuts, butt connectors, electrical tape, wire, resistors, all kinds of stuff in there. Up here I keep a couple of gooseneck trailer plugs, because we use goosenecks to haul most of our material in from the field to our loading yard, and we're always breaking these and pulling them out. Husky digital tire inflator, some more slack adjuster tools, different chucks and gauges in there, and this blowgun that also came from Northern Tool. I absolutely love this thing. It's got like 4 or 5 different tips for it. That's a great blowgun. We use it cleaning out hay balers and silage cutters and all kinds of stuff like that, and it works great. Then moving on, there's a tape measure, an OTC thread chaser, which has seen its better days, but still gets the job done. It's got all the dies right there. That saved me a time or two. Got a set of feeler gauges, and then some different gear pullers and things like that back there, a nut breaker. This little guy right here is a U-joint press, and I can do a video if you guys want me to. Just leave a note in the comments there and I'll do one, because this thing works awesome. It does pretty much every U-joint on the bigger trucks down to smaller cars, or mid-sized trucks, I'm sorry. This is the second Snap-on tool I own, one of two, or two of two. And it's just an old air ratchet that never really gets used. Keep some anti-seize, some Sawzall blades, different stuff in here. Glues and gasket makers and stuff like that, scrapers. I bought that scraper at the Kubota parts counter. It's got a striking cap on it, and it has no flex to it at all. You cannot bend that thing. That is a great scraper. Got a wire tester for trailers. My Power Probe multimeter. Love that multimeter. Test light, battery brush, Mac bearing and race driver. I think that's the biggest one they make, and it adjusts, if I can do it with one hand. It adjusts in and out, and that thing is super handy, especially when you go through bearings like we do. Super handy to have. Another one of the very few Harbor Freight tools I've got are these big snap ring pliers from Icon, and they are a hell of a lot better than those cheap ones from Napa. Those are actually pretty good pliers. Got my Mountain digital calipers and a spare pair of calipers there. Got my hand impact from Mac. I love this thing. You can change the handle on it, but for screws and fasteners, you put whatever you're going to put, you know, on the end there, and then you put it in the fastener, and you put pressure to loosen on it and hit it with a hammer. And old rusted out, you know, fasteners that are stuck, that'll work almost every time. Those are killer. Then I've got my Power Probe, some Deutsch connectors, some heat shrink, Teflon tape, wire, old drill bits, relays. That's about it for the top. At the bottom, I've got my Noco GB150. I love that thing. I've done John Deere 7830 tractors that were completely dead with it. I've done our 2014 Freightliner several times when it died. It is yet to let me down, so that thing is a great tool to have. And then down here I've got different pry bars. That's my favorite one, the Mac. It's a straight tip. You never know how handy these are until you get one. I mean, I use it more than a curved tip. 99% of the time I use that. That's a little 3/8 torque wrench from Husky. It's actually pretty good. That is my favorite light I own. It's an Astro pneumatic, and it will flex and all that, and the base is magnetic. Some starting fluid, can never have too much of that. Some big Milwaukee channel locks. A cheap big pry bar from Northern Tool. It's held up pretty well. Some cheater pipes, some different alignment bars, and lady slippers, my torch, my DeWalt grease gun, some magnets, and my Mac 1/2-inch click torque wrench. I don't know why, I just kind of prefer the click torque wrenches, maybe because you can pick them up for a fraction of the price you can get a digital torque wrench for, but I've always preferred them. This drawer, or cabinet, is all my blow molded stuff. So it's got ball joint service kits, fuel line disconnects, tire repair, gear wrench master serpentine belt kit, super handy, hydraulic test kit, little terminal tool kit for Deutsch stuff, the ratcheting nut driver set from Gear Wrench. I absolutely love that. It's awesome. The 1/2-inch bolt biters, the sensor socket set from Gear Wrench, thread repair kit from Lawson. Don't know what that is. Down here is some filter wrenches and different bearing race driving stuff. And up top is, keep it from falling out, Mac bit set. I love this set. I've lost a couple of the bits, but it's got a T-handle and a ratcheting screwdriver and about every bit you could need. Some Sunex torque adapters. These are super handy. I end up even using them kind of like a crow's foot sometimes on hard to reach places. those are really handy. That is a ratcheting tap and die kit from Gear Wrench. And I already had the Matco tap and die set, so I just bought the handle for this because it'll work with all of those dies and all of those taps. So this is another one I highly recommend. It's the Circuit Chaser from Power Probe. You can do pretty much all of your electrical or wiring diagnosis with that. That is some metric jumbo impact crow's feet, and that's about it for that cabinet. I'm sure there's something I'm forgetting. This is all of my parts. I've got various pins, U-joints, machine bushings, more gooseneck plugs, Sunex pipe plug socket set, different bolts, trailer lights, zip ties, half moon key stock in all different sizes, different fittings. This is where I keep some of my different bolts, coarse thread, fine thread, metric, standard, just a cheap little pack. This Craftsman box here has got wrench pins, chain links, shaft collars, clevis pins, self-drilling screws, some hose clamps, some studs, different caps and pipe plugs and things like that you might need. Pickle fork, jumbo Allen keys. These drawers are stuck again, so that's going to make it kind of hard to show you that. We'll try to figure it out. Up here is a bunch of hydraulic fittings. Below that is even more hydraulic fittings. Some gasket material to cut and make your own gaskets when you need to, and you will need to. Down here is just various different types of hardware and shims, things like that. Below that is more key stock, snap rings, pins, plugs, all kinds of stuff, pipe nipples, different things like that. Just various hardware and things you might need. And then my air reel and my torch reel with quick connects, got to have those. That's about it for the service truck as of now. I got a few more things to throw over into it. If there's anything you guys saw that you want me to do a in-depth review or how-to or anything like that on, just let me know. I plan to do a shop tour on our newer shop. This one doesn't really have anything in it, but yeah, if you guys want to see anything in particular or want a video on anything in particular, just leave it in the comments, and thank you for watching.